Underfunding, parents may continue to bear an increasing financial burden as school heads raise concerns over what they describe as a deepening funding crisis within Kenya's education sector. They warn that persistent
financial pressure as schools shift more extra levies and additional fees onto families amid continued basic education underfunding by the government. Despite the government's repeated assurance about timely capitation disbursement before schools reopen, concern is now shifting from time to the actual amount released. For the second consecutive term, funds were sent just days before opening, but school heads say the allocation falls far below expectations, raising fresh anxiety over school operations and financial stability.
In the last 2 terms, we have sent capitation to school before schools opened, something that has never happened in the last 40 years.
School principals report receiving only 4,481 shillings per learner this second term instead of the expected 6,673 shillings, which represents the full 30% allocation. The shortfall has sparked frustration among administrators who say the reduced funding is making it increasingly difficult to sustain learning, settle suppliers, and maintain essential school programs. A similar pattern emerged during the first term. Although capitation was released early, schools reportedly received barely half of what they expected. Instead of the 11,122 shillings per learner due under the 50% allocation for first term, schools ended up receiving 6,577, deepening concerns over consistency in education funding. The continued funding gaps are now pushing school heads into crisis mode, with many forced to juggle unpaid bills from one term to the next term. Administrators warn that the delayed and reduced capitation is straining school budgets, piling pressure on institutions already struggling with a rising operational cost and mounting debts. They also argue that the crisis is worsening under the current funding structure, which they describe as severely inadequate. They're now proposing a revised fee structure model where learners in C1 schools will pay 73,182 shillings per learner. C2 and C3 schools will pay 68,023 shillings and C4 schools to pay 5,372 shillings based on the daily cost of educating a learner annually. And Musungu, KTN, Nairobi.